Internet today is just full of crap. You have probably already seen those AI-generated sloppy quality posts on Facebook or other platforms. And to more curious of you all, you have probably also seen the comment section under them. Most of you were probably looking for a laugh. Other people just laughing at how ridiculous the idea of posting something like this is. There were people who actually believed in this stuff. And of course, most of them are just old and are not able to differentiate reality from AI. This is totally normal, but what's more interesting is how AI really changed how we perceive information in the internet lately. We can laugh at those innocent grandmothers in the Facebook comments, but even though it might be hilarious, they are not even the only ones that are getting fooled by this technology. But to truly understand how did we get to this point, we have to get deeper into the history of the internet itself. I think that not truly as much as people say have changed. Because, you know, when I was a kid, I really enjoyed watching some Minecraft content or even universe explanation videos, and it created some really interesting scenarios because I couldn't even read, and I was able to perfectly explain to my older sister how a black hole works. So yeah, this was really great, but I would say that internet today is even more plentiful when it comes to those kinds of videos.
Hey Vsauce, Michael here. Where are your fingers?
So what's really the problem? The problem is that we as humans tend to optimize for pretty much anything. And furthermore, we tend to optimize for money because this is what we most care about, at least from business standpoint. And this is really a great problem because it creates so many opportunities for people to create content farms and use AI in some really questionable quality content. And I'm not really saying that the AI is bad in itself. It's just a tool and we as humans decide how to wield it. And of course, it creates a lot of interesting problems, because even before AI, people tended to look for information in the internet and trust it without really checking the source or anything. But today, when we have, for average user, all-knowing language model like ChatGPT who can tell you pretty much anything, then there are a lot of people who will trust pretty much anything if it comes from an AI. This is really scary in my opinion, because people are going to get fooled by this a lot. Like I said before, not only old people on Facebook are getting fooled by this technology, but pretty much anyone at this point. We can truly see this with situations like the fake Trump arrest a few years ago. People really thought that Trump was arrested, and it all turned out to be just a deepfake. This truly shows how we can easily get fooled by this technology, by how realistic it is, even now. So I'm almost sure you have probably already seen those AI versus reality videos. Pretty much a challenge when you have to tell which video is real and which one isn't. Although this technology isn't as developed as it could be, I am almost sure that in most of those scenarios you weren't really able to tell them apart. This shows us not only how easily you can get deceived today, but also some very interesting uses of this technology. I remember when people were criticizing on CGI that it just looks bad, and even today we can see some pretty questionable uses of this technology, but it's used not only to create crappy movies but also some very beautiful artworks which we enjoy nowadays. And I think the same thing can happen with AI over time. Of course, there will be people who willingly will use it to create some questionable quality content, but with some creativity and responsible uses of this technology, we can get very far when it comes to quality, especially with tools we have available now or will be available in the near future. You could have already seen those videos of some animals running and talking to the camera about some stupid stuff. I myself don't enjoy this kind of content, but I know there are a lot of people on social media who are receiving this kind of entertainment really positively, and this only shows us the possibilities with this technology if used correctly. I also think there are a lot of people who generally hate on AI because they are just tired of seeing it constantly pop up on some media. And yeah, I can agree with this. Seeing fifth tralala tralala TikTok or something like this in public may be tiring, especially when you're not into this stuff. But it's just like with all the other trends. It appears people think this is funny and they are going to watch it, even if this is just stupid as hell. I know it may sound a little bit weird, especially when taking into consideration that ads are generally presented to you based on your own interests, but lately when I was doom scrolling on YouTube Shorts, I encountered some very questionable quality ads showing me some AI generated girls who thought that they could give me some kind of interesting experience. And of course this sounds silly, but you have to trust me, it was really annoying considering that I just wanted to relax, and every few minutes I just saw those girls telling me how amazing it could be if I just click on the ad. And furthermore, I didn't know how to get rid of this. If you have an idea, then please tell me in the comments, I would really appreciate it. This truly shows us that AI can be used in various interesting ways. From one side, it can be used to entertain people with really interesting and high quality content, but from the other side, it can be used to feed on their unhealthy interests. And it's not like the new technologies are bad or anything. I have already said it a lot of times in this video, but I think it's all about how do we use this technology. It's very interesting how today our grandfathers struggle to understand our technology, and we also struggle to understand what they were up to back in their days. This is very interesting because technology progress was much slower back in those days, and this problem wasn't really a thing back then. We are in a situation where older people don't understand this technology, and younger people tend to not really use it in the most optimal way. You know those memes when you, as a patient, want to get something done in a doctor's office, but then you come in and you see your friend who only passed his test because he was able to use ChatGPT to cheat, and really he doesn't have a great understanding of what he's doing. And this really shows how younger generation tends to use AI. It's not like everyone does it, because there are some exceptions and I'm going to talk about them later in this video, but a lot of people are using it to replace thinking and a lot of hard stuff in their lives. It's not particularly bad in itself, but when we stop trying to get better, when we stop challenging ourselves and we just let technology handle it all for us, we become weaker, and also the quality of our products is much less compared to how it would be if we hadn't had this technology in the first place. But there are exceptions. Of course, there are people who are able to use AI to get themselves to the new highs. Those people not only use AI to get help in developing their projects, making them even better and much more easy to manage over time, they are also using AI to challenge themselves. Education today is very sad, to say at least. We are used to sitting in class all day listening to some dude who doesn't even know what he's talking about, or even if he knows what he's talking about, he just doesn't care about you. And this is how it was for 200-300 years at this point. But with the advent of AI in those past few years, it really changes a lot when it comes to education. There are a lot of people who are using ChatGPT or other large language models to study and become better at topics which they couldn't if this technology wasn't so available. I personally use ChatGPT to learn to code. or to get better at foreign languages. But the problem is that most of people don't realize the potential of this technology when it comes to education, and they much rather to use it when it comes to making their lives easier, not in a way to get better, but just to get lazy and stop putting effort into important stuff. In the past 20 or 30 years, we have experienced a lot of new technologies. There were smartphones, computers, new cars, new watches, and all of this stuff, and all of us were able to experience at least part of them. And I think the same thing is going to happen with AI. Of course, some people may say that this is so revolutionary, that this will actually be totally different, but I'm sure that the situation will be very similar. It's pretty much very similar to anything I mentioned in this video. There will be people who will be willing to adapt to this new technology. They will be able to create amazing artworks, to find new connections, and to accomplish new heights with this new technology. I know it may sound a little bit edgy, but I suspect that the situation will be very similar to natural selection. There will be people who will be able to keep themselves far enough from this to not get in any danger, but we also have to remember about those who will not be able to keep themselves from overusing it and will just crumble under the weight of this new invention. And of course, we have to keep in mind that it's all just a rough prediction, but if you are aware of the recent outburst in the internet because of the release of ChatGPT 5, I suspect you will also have similar opinion about this. We just tend to rely on our technology too much. And like I said, it can be seen with this recent outburst. This new version of GPT is much different compared to his predecessor, because this time it's not made to entertain you and to pretty much lick your ass, but to give straight up answers and to help you as efficiently as possible. Of course, there were also people who had problems with the technological side of all of this. But nevertheless, I have to focus on the first group. There were people who felt disappointed because ChatGPT wasn't as nice as it used to be. And I don't want to judge anyone when it comes to this. I understand that when you want to get something done, it's nice to have someone or something which is just nice to you while helping. But this just shows us how do we rely on this technology, not only to solve our problems, but today also on emotional support. And I'm totally serious. I know a lot of people who use ChatGPT as some sort of psychologist. They are describing their experiences, their deepest fears to this machine, and they feel really good about it. Or maybe they feel weird because they are talking to a machine after all. I don't really know, I'm not a psychiatrist or psychologist, so I won't any deeper into psychology of talking to a machine about your problems. Probably it has something to do with social judgment, I don't know, I'm just guessing. But this is a great example of another awesome use for this technology. Emotional support machines can sound a little bit tricky, but I think that this actually may work. I know there will be a lot of you who will just say that you are not going to talk about your emotions to a language model, and I totally understand, but you have to know that there are people who are just too afraid to reach out for real help, and even talking to something which is able to give you some sort of support in those difficult moments can be really helpful to those people. And to summarize all of this, I know there are a lot of people who are hating on this technology because there is a lot of AI slop on the internet. There are a lot of interesting situations when grandmas or other people are not able to differentiate reality from AI. And there are also a lot of visionary people who think that this technology may change the world. I personally think that both of those sides are kind of right. We tend to forget that even the simplest things that are around us were invented at some point in history, and at this point we can call pretty much anything technology. So yeah, even though it's in our nature to rely on things we create, is it really healthy this time? I'm more curious on what do you think about this topic. You already know my opinion, so I would be really grateful if you write yours in the comment section. When it comes to comment section, I will be making a second part of this video, so if you have some interesting takes on this topic and you want to share them with me, then you can do it, and there's a high chance I will include them in the second part. So I think this is everything. Thank you for your time. If you want, you can subscribe or leave a like. And this is everything. Thank you for watching and have a nice day, night or anything. Goodbye!